Welcome, focus learners, to this complete chapter explainer. We're skipping the fluff today and jumping right in. We are setting the stage to explore a magnificent microscopic world that is operating right inside of you at this very moment. If you want to grasp the sheer staggering complexity of biology without getting bogged down in the weeds, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down the ultimate foundation of biology, pulling back the curtain on the tiny, bustling factories that literally keep us all alive. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the unit of life. Second, discovering the cell. Third, shapes, sizes, and numbers. Fourth, inside the cell factory. And finally, comparing cell types. Section 1, the unit of life, building blocks. So what exactly is a cell? Well, by definition, it's the structural and functional unit of life. And I mean all life. Whether we're talking about a microscopic, single-celled amoeba, a massive mango tree, or, you and me, we are all constructed from cells. It's absolutely crucial to understand that a cell is the absolute smallest part of our body that is fully capable of performing essential life processes entirely on its own. Things like taking in nutrition and performing respiration. They are the true microscopic engines of existence. Section 2, discovering the cell, a microscopic journey. Picture this. Back in the day, a scientist named Antony van Leeuwenhoek actually crafted a microscope using a single biconvex lens. This incredible little tool provided a 200 times magnification, and because of this 200x lens, he became the very first person in history to ever lay eyes on a living, moving cell. And this brilliantly illustrates how far our technology has leaped forward. I mean, while Leeuwenhoek was working with 200 times magnification, modern scientists today use these massive, complex electron microscopes that can magnify objects up to 200,000 times. That is exactly the kind of power we need to truly map out the cell's intricate interior. Let's just quickly walk chronologically through the key historical breakthroughs that really laid the foundation for modern biology. In 1665, Robert Hooke was looking at dead cork from tree bark, and he saw these little honeycomb-like compartments. He called them cellula, which actually means small rooms. Then, jumping ahead to 1838, botanist Matthias Schleiden and zoologist Theodor Schwann combined their research. They figured out that all plants and animals are made of cells. Finally, in 1858, Rudolf Virchow modified this by proving that life isn't just magic, right? New cells strictly arise from pre-existing dividing cells. Those discoveries gave us three crucial postulates, and I challenge you to lock these in your memory right now. 1. The cell is the structural and functional unit of life. 2. All plants and animals are made of them. And 3. New cells arise from pre-existing cells. These three simple steps form the absolute bedrock of biology. Section 3, shapes, sizes, and numbers, the diversity. Before we look at the incredible variety of shapes out there, let me spark your curiosity and pose a direct question to you. What do you think is the absolute smallest cell inside the human body? Got a guess? It's the red blood cell. Now, just for some wider context, the global smallest cell in the world is the Mycoplasma bacteria, and the longest cell in your body is the neuron. But the red blood cell takes the top prize for the smallest in humans. It has this unique, tiny, biconcave shape, kind of like an Alpenliebe candy with a little dimple right in the middle. And that specific shape is what allows it to easily squeeze through your narrowest blood capillaries. Notice how beautifully a cell's unique shape completely dictates its specific function. It's amazing. Plant guard cells are shaped exactly like little rajma or kidney beans, so they can open and close pores. Your white blood cells have this irregular amoeba-like shape, which lets them flexibly hunt down infections. And muscle cells, they are literally the only cells in the body that can physically adjust their shape to contract and relax, which is what allows us to move. Form always follows function. Section 4. Let's move to and see how this builds as we zoom deep inside the cell to explore the functional city within. First off, let's clear up a bit of dense biological jargon so you have a really clear map of the cell's fluid filling. Protoplasm is simply the combination of the nucleoplasm, that's the fluid inside the nucleus, and the cytoplasm, which is the jelly-like fluid outside the nucleus. Put them together, you get protoplasm. And here's a fun little fact for you. If you were to strip away the cell wall and the plasma membrane, that naked blob of life left behind is called a protoplast. So how does the cell protect its factory? Well, animal cells use a plasma membrane. This is a flexible, living guard made of lipocontines that is selectively permeable. Think of it like a strict bouncer at a club, deciding exactly what gets to come in and what has to go out. Plants, however, they need extra support, so they have an additional cell wall. It's a rigid, non-living outer armor made of cellulose that is freely permeable, giving the plant structural strength. Inside that jelly-like cytoplasm, there is a massive structural framework holding everything up called the endoplasmic reticulum, and it operates with two distinct manufacturing zones. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is studded with little dots called ribosomes. That makes it look bumpy, and its main job is to manufacture proteins. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, on the other hand, lacks those ribosomes and focuses entirely on manufacturing lipids or fats. Let's look at two absolutely vital organelles. You probably know the mitochondria as the classic sausage-shaped powerhouse of the cell, but notice why it's powerful. Its inner membrane is folded into structures called cristae to dramatically increase its surface area, which lets it generate maximum ATP energy from pyruvic acid. It even has its own DNA, which is wild. Then we have the Golgi apparatus. This is the packaging and modification center, featuring these flattened membranes called cisterns. It preps proteins, makes hormones, and even builds parts of sperm cells. Now for some vivid imagery. Take a look at lysosomes. They are famously known as the cell's suicide bags. Imagine them as tiny boiling oil wells filled with harsh hydrolytic enzymes. If the cell gets deeply injured or infected, these bags burst to digest and break down the dying materials, sacrificing the cell to save the whole organism. Alongside them are the ribosomes. These are the tiny protein factories of the cell, and they uniquely possess only a single membrane wall. Now, if you're a plant, you also get exclusive double-membrane structures called plastids. The most famous one is the green chloroplast, which traps solar energy for photosynthesis. Inside, it has stacks of thylakoids. Think of them as a tall stack of plates at a wedding buffet, creating a structure called a grana. But there are other plastids too. Leucoplasts are colorless and act as storage units, while chromoplasts are the artists, providing those brilliant reds and yellows to fruits and flowers. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the exact same genetic material literally shapeshifts depending on what the cell is doing. Inside a resting cell's nucleus, your DNA looks like a random, messy, uncoiled pile of thread. That's called chromatin. But the moment that cell decides to divide, that thread tightly coils up into dense, organized packages called chromosomes, ensuring your hereditary traits are perfectly passed on. Section 5. Comparing cell types. The grand synthesis. Let's lock in the differences we've covered with this rapid-fire comparison table. Plants have a rigid cellulose cell wall and plastids for photosynthesis. Animals don't. Animals have a centrosome to help with cell division. Plants don't. Plants have one massive vacuole for water storage that actually pushes the nucleus off to the side, while animals just have many tiny ones. And because animals have a much higher chemical activity overall, our cytoplasm is significantly denser than a plant's. So the crucial point is that not all cells reach the same level of architectural mastery. Just look at this divide. We, along with plants and fungi, are perfectly complex eukaryotes. We have a prominent nucleus and a full suite of membrane-bound organelles. But ancient bacteria, they survive using a much simpler prokaryotic blueprint. They don't have mitochondria or a Golgi apparatus. Their genetic material just floats freely in a primitive region called a nucleoid. Which brings us to a final, truly mind-bending thought to leave you with today. Every complex animal, every towering tree, and every single one of us started as a single primitive cell. If that simple biological blueprint evolved into the staggering, perfectly synchronized microscopic factories operating inside of your body right at this very second, what on earth will our cells look like a million years from now? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.